What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over the latest in updates and what that means for Q4. So I want to go over all of that, but first make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. Side note, happy Thanksgiving to all the Americans out there. Eat a lot, drink a lot, spend time with family. Ultimately, that is what is important in life, not necessarily stocks and investments. So definitely take today, relax, and do what needs to be done. But aside from all that though, so we did have Nick. And for those of you that aren't on Twitter, I'd recommend just opening up an account and just to follow him alone, because he definitely does have a lot of good insight and he's a lot more engaging than previous individuals. So in case you do not know, Nick is the head of communications for Lucid. And so he just posted recently about the limited number of Gravity Tourings. So ultimately, if we pop over here, this is the available vehicles, and they just updated this. So there's a hell of a lot of vehicles here, and some are available now, some are within like next 2 weeks and stuff like that. So they are really trying to get them out the door. And I think no matter what though, kind of the, I guess, configuration is still rather high. So I think a lot of people were really wanting the 79.9 kind of price point. Some of these are 103 and whatever else. I don't know if how well those will sell, but nonetheless though, there is a lot of good demand and it's starting to grow. So I think that's kind of a good thing when it comes down to Q4. So I've kind of brought this up in the past. I haven't really needed to bring it up anytime recently, but as you can kind of see under the produced at the very bottom, 8,034. In order for them to hit just 18,000, so that's kind of what they did guide for the low end, because initially it was between 18 to, or initially it was 20, and then they lowered it down to between 18 to 20. Then in their last earnings, they did cite the low end of 18. So in order for them to hit that, they need to do 8,034 vehicles produced. Regrettably, we haven't had that much in flyovers. So it's really anyone's guess whether they actually do hit that or not. I've seen a lot more posts on social media about the Gravity, and clearly this website right here kind of goes to show that there's a lot of demand. And for those of you that kind of update this and look at this quite frequently, you know that this inventory goes fairly fast. So I think in general, Lucid's really working their ass off to get that done, to hit their targets, because I think generally we've seen a lot of companies, when they don't hit their targets, they do unfortunately get hit quite hard. So that's going to be something to really watch for in the next little bit. And I wouldn't be surprised as well, even I did receive a couple of emails about promotions up until end of November. So I think there's going to be some pretty good deals in December. So for those of you that want to get a Lucid, that might be potentially the time. But one thing that did recently come out over the weekend was, it looks like a mess up on Lucid's part, and it was more oriented towards, I guess, suppliers. So you can kind of see Claudio did do this article. Lucid extends supplier payment terms to 90 days, accidentally warns customers. So I guess the email was accidentally sent to customers, not suppliers. The original email is right at here, so you can kind of look at it. In general, it's nothing really crazy to panic over. No real reason to sell Lucid, nor kind of buy. It's just good FYI. So they're kind of extending the payment terms. So it looks like they're doing end of month plus 60. So that was, in some cases, some suppliers fell below that. So they might be potentially impacted. And this whole article goes over how potentially that could be damaging to a lot of smaller players. But I don't really see that being that big of a deal. But I just wanted to kind of bring this up. Maybe we might be seeing some more supplier deals. I think maybe Lucid might be doing that to weed out some of the smaller players, possibly from China. I know that's kind of a big deal that Lucid's been wanting to pivot, as well as a lot of other American companies have been wanting to pivot away from China, because that doesn't really benefit anyone. I think under the Trump administration, one day it's fine, another day it's back to kind of tariff wars and stuff. So I think in general, this might be why Lucid is doing that, but let me know your general thoughts on that in the comments below. The only other thing that I wanted to bring up was more of a brand ambassador. And I know I haven't been that enthusiastic towards, I don't even know their names, the two basketball individuals and Timothy. And I know some people say, well, they're all amazing, they should really bring a lot of sales. I personally feel one big success, or there might be two big successes. One is in the general area, and that is Ronaldo, CR7. Some people who don't kind of watch soccer or football, whatever you want to call it, might not know who he is, but I think generally, like based on his following, a lot of people do know. So I think Lucid really does need to partner or do some sort of sponsorship with him. I know it would be very, very costly, but pretty much the year prior to the World Cup, I think this would be perfect timing. And I think it's maybe fair to assume that Lucid has no intention of marketing during the upcoming World Cup, or else they would have alluded to that in their last earnings, in my opinion. And then the only other thing I wanted to kind of share with you is this. And for those of you that actually pay attention to some of my thumbnails or just generally watch my videos, I appreciate that. But I've started to include her. So Sydney Sweeney, a lot of people know who she is. Again, some people might not, but definitely can't really argue that she's brings an eye catcher. And so I think ultimately she has proven herself to be one of the best marketing individuals out there, because if she sponsors your product, your sales go up like considerably. So, and there's a lot of stats to actually justify that. And so I think in general, if Lucid was to kind of beg her or even CR7, for instance, Ronaldo, then we could actually have a huge, like one that everyone will know, brand ambassador. No kind of hate towards Timothy or again the other individuals, but I feel like Lucid is not really targeting the right audience. And the age-old thing, sex sells. Sex does truly sell. So I think in general, this is something that Lucid does really need to work on in 2026, is to get more and kind of a broader audience is kind of brand ambassador. So let me know your general thoughts on that in the comments below. Hopefully everyone's having an amazing day and a good Thanksgiving for those of you that are American. Stay tuned for my video tomorrow and everything else. So with all that said, appreciate all of you watching. And then one final thing, if you're looking for some solid buy signals, pop over to my Patreon. I put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades, worthwhile to kind of pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.